guarantees.
Good. Okay. So everybody, I'm Kenny with NeONBRAND again. We do search engine optimization, and tonight John asked me to do the beginner course. So I'm going to try to keep it as simple as possible. Feel free to ask any questions if I start to get too complicated sounding. And I'll gladly break it down a little bit further. Cool app John showed us in one of the previous meetups. If you're a Mac user, it's called Simple Note. Use it all the time now. So with choosing, my topic is choosing an SEO-friendly theme. So out there on WordPress, as some people are learning, they're in the beginner world, there are like 2.8 gajillion themes related to WordPress. You can pretty much find one that does anything and everything that you want out there. But which ones are good, which ones are bad, which ones are better from an SEO perspective, and that's kind of what we want to talk about a little bit. For starters, you want to have current code. For Google, they want to see the latest technologies being used. Old sites mean you're not paying attention anymore, and they want to see people who are really paying attention to their sites and keeping them updated. So you want to start off with a site that's HTML5, using HTML5 and CSS3. Those are the two main technologies on websites right now. It'll be right in the descriptions. Pull up some sites. It'll be right in. Let's see. Let's try looking at free WordPress themes, which is always a dangerous place to look. But typically, they should lay it out for you pretty quickly. Use the most current HTML5. Actually, this is a good one because it talks about that, which was one I was going to bring up later. So HTML5, it usually says it in the descriptions. It'll say details or something. It'll say HTML5 and CSS3. So make sure those are in place.
Hey, Kenny?
Yeah.
I'm going to suggest maybe zooming in a little
Oh, is it
bit
small?
on your screen.
Yeah, for sure,
So
for
people
sure.
go back and read the text a little better. I know.
Bigger.
Do Control+. Go back to the browser.
Oh yeah. I was gonna make the whole thing bigger, but does that work? Is that good enough?
Yep.
Yeah, that's better.
So here's where it's saying HTML5 down here in this example. If you're on a developer's website, it's going to be laid out a little bit different, but it'll still say HTML5 and CSS3 in there. You want to make sure it has a real solid code foundation, and without being a developer, that's kind of hard to tell. And a good rule of thumb, so all these themes, in a beginner perspective, themes can be created by anybody. I could go out and create a theme and then upload it to the directory, and boom, it's online. You don't necessarily know how good at coding I am. You don't necessarily know if I actually know what I'm doing. It could be anybody doing that.
I will say that if you're on WordPress.org, that they actually have a whole theme review team, and so not just anybody's going to get a theme up there.
Right.
But when you go to any other website,
If you're going,
without a doubt.
if you do just a typical WordPress theme search, and if you're not going to go to WordPress.org, but this is actually a good one, but Theme Forest has gajillions of themes. It's a place that a lot of people go for themes. There's a lot of other places except for .org, so yeah, it's good. Good tip. They do review them there. But all that aside, your developer is not really, you don't necessarily know how good code it is. So kind of a rule of thumb is to stick with people who actually know what they're doing. There's lots of good sites out there that sell themes. One of the ones that's been mentioned a few times, and if you're not familiar with the term, Genesis, that's one that John loves and a lot of people use pretty heavily. It's a little more expensive, but you get what you pay for. You get a really quality product when you use one of their themes. There's other places like, they show up in those search results, but Elegant Themes, they have good themes. Theme Kingdom. Themes Kingdom. So these guys, different from the sites that sell, like one guy selling one theme, these guys' whole business revolves around creating quality, well-coded themes. So if you're going to use something that's from a developer that's constantly putting out new themes with new updates and current code, you're probably going to have a good website as far as code structure is concerned. If you're trying to dabble into HTML and PHP, trying to develop a Genesis theme is probably a little more advanced than you want to get right now. Start with something that's just basic HTML, CSS. They use a lot of advanced PHP hooks and other things that make it a little more advanced than you want to deal with starting off. But from a theme perspective, awesome theme. Okay, so that's kind of point one. Any questions on choosing a currently coded theme, a well-coded theme? Any questions about that? Okay, the next big thing, y'all have probably heard of responsive design by now. It's been a buzzword for a year or two now. Your site has to be able to fit on a mobile device. So if it's not fitting on a mobile device, Google will ding you. The SEO will not reach you as well. The stats increase every day, but over 50% of all internet use is done from a mobile browser. So what is responsive design? So we'll just test out these guys' sites. So you should be able to go to a site, and by clicking and dragging in the edges of the browser, so I'm going to click on the far edge here, and I'm just going to slide, I'm going to narrow up the browser here and see what happens to their site here. So as we go down, things should start shifting around. I haven't tested this one, so we'll see what they do. Fail.
Actually,
Let's
good
reload
refresh.
it. Reload it, yeah. Oh,
Fail.
surprising. Things Kingdom, get on top of that. Let's see if these guys are any better. Fail.
Try Studio.
Making these guys look bad.
Control R, Command R.
Nothing.
Wow.
Oh for 2.
Slackers.
There we go. Okay, so see what's happening here. So as the size, and the reason I test it like this is because browsers are so many different sizes now. Every phone device, tablet, everything's a different size. And if you can stretch the browser screen size like this and it conforms to whatever size it is in between, then you've got a really good responsive theme. So as this browser size shrinks, you'll see the logo StudioPress. Watch, it'll jump up over top of the menu items here. Boom. As you get smaller, everything's kind of condensing so that you can still see the quality stuff until you get down to a completely mobile version, which changes the menu into a drop down. It shifts everything around so that it fits on the mobile device. So old technology was you created a second site for the mobile browser, and it was all mobile optimized, and it was m.studiopress.com, and it was a whole second level of website. Now you're one site, fits all screen sizes, and has to be there for SEO purposes. If it's not, you will not rank well in search engines. Questions about responsive design?
I was just going to say that a lot of times when you, like if you go to Theme Forest,
Yeah.
you can actually view the demo
Yes.
of things and then see whether or not they're responsive. Typically they'll say whether they're responsive.
Yes, good point. So if we go to WordPress themes, WordPress, all WordPress. So when you're in these, they all have a live preview button. Underneath most of them have a live preview button. So if you click the live preview, it'll pull it up in another screen, and then you can do that same test.
I usually remove the frame, and then you can actually
It's
see,
true.
see the actual
See the
URL.
code, yeah.
Yeah, because there's been times when they've embedded the site in iframe and then made the iframe.
Breaks it.
Yeah.
So with this one, you can see things are shifting around. This is a responsive theme.
It's a good looking site.
Yeah, it's a good thing.
That is a good looking site.
So make sure you have responsive design when choosing a theme. Good point.
If there is a separate domain like an m dot whatever, does Google ding it for not?
That is considered a second website, so you are splitting your efforts across 2 domains, so it makes it twice as hard to rank.
What is that?
So, if there is an m dot domain, m dot whatever, like there used to be all over, essentially doubles your SEO efforts.
I believe you get dinged for having duplicate content.
And you get a duplicate content problem where if it's the exact same on both.
So what are sites like ESPN doing, where it's ESPN.go or Disney.go or?
Those guys have such a high domain authority, they don't necessarily rely on the organic rankings as much, because anytime they release anything, Google already has a trusted source for them, so the duplicate content problems and everything else that apply to all of us little guys don't necessarily apply on the bigger front like that.
Because I mean, like CNN has money.cn and all that, like they're in the same category.
Yeah, my example was those guys rank so well regardless of any organic techniques. It's like when, my example is a little outdated, but whenever the shooting happened in the movie theater, the Batman movie, instantly you could Google Batman and the movie didn't come up anymore. The shooting did. And it was because CNN had written about it and they have such a high domain authority, they're the top result every time regardless of anything else that's going on. So those bigger sites get that luxury compared to us. So, any other questions? Good. Show off how cool we are. So this is our site. Same thing. It's built on Genesis. It's awesome. Social media integration, hugely important too, as social becomes more and more of a search engine ranking stat that's tracked. The theme doesn't necessarily have to have the integration built into it, but you need to be able to see where that could end up if you added a plugin that might add that functionality, or the code yourself. So when you're looking at a theme, you might say, okay, I can see, if we're looking at this gridiron one, where'd that go? Like this one, since it's a full width theme, it's a little bit trickier. It looks like they kind of integrated it over here. Something going on. Oh, there you go. So they have the social media integrated already, so that's cool. It's a really nice theme. And they also have it down here at the bottom already. So they've done the luxury of making you know exactly where it will go, which is a good thing. If it's not there, then you can kind of click around and say, okay, where could I put it if I had to just pick one, see if we got it on these. Blog. Not seeing anywhere yet. Hopefully here somewhere. So they didn't include it. It doesn't look like. So that's okay because you can say, what's that?
At the footer.
On the footer, they do have links to social profiles, but not the social share buttons, which is a good point. You don't just want to have the links to your profiles. You want to actually have the buttons that say share to Facebook, and share versus like. You know, the like buttons don't count as much. It's just small and not really related. You want a share button on there for Facebook, Google Plus, Twitter, Pinterest, LinkedIn, kind of the top ones. But
there's a girl in Reno. Her name is Nicole Rose Dion. She did a cool thing at WordCamp there, explaining the difference about how your link should look different, or your icon should look different, or or else they're gonna click it and they think they shared it, but they went to your profile, or vice versa.
right, yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, so if your buttons should clearly look like a share button versus come check out our profile. So they might not realize what they're doing. But with this one, even though they don't have it, I could see maybe integrating a plugin that would add it right at the top here. There's a nice spot. There's floating plugins that could go down the side. There's a nice white area here that would float some buttons really nicely. So I can see this working out for some social buttons. But in a perfect sense, if they've already done the work and shown you exactly where they could go, that's mucho better. Questions about social? Straightforward. Load speed, also hugely important. So to back up with what Russ recommended, when you're looking at all these themes and you hit the live preview, so it wraps everything in this iframe thing. You can see it up here, the black bar. So that's provided by Theme Forest. If you click the remove frame button, then you're getting what is actually the theme. This one's actually pretty dang impressive again. Reloading the page, you can Command R, Control R on your website. See how fast it loads. You can actually then, and this one loaded really fast, you can see how fast it went. You could then, if you wanted to test it a little further, you could go to tools.pingdom.com. Website speed test, paste in that URL, so that's to the demo of elitethemes.com/gridiron. elitethemes.com/gridiron, test now. It'll run a test on it, and it'll tell you how fast it's loading. It'll also rank it out of all sites. Tools.pingdom.com. So it'll tell you how fast it is. It's loading in 2.84 seconds. That's fast. Under 5 seconds is usually pretty good. The lower the better. Sites with any kind of content or anything nowadays load a little under the 5 second mark. So super important for SEO purposes and for conversion purposes. SEO purposes, Google takes it into account because they want to deliver the product to the client, to the user, to the searcher, as quick as possible. And from a conversion standpoint, there's been lots of tests done that companies that bring in thousands of dollars from their website a month will lose hundreds of dollars per second that the site delays in loading. Like, you can actually dial it down to that far. So it's important that the site loads quickly so that you don't lose the money of the potential clients, but also so that you can deliver good speed to Google to help you rank higher.
This is a dumb question probably, but
No,
it's
such-
usually just the images that are causing the load speed to happen.
No, it can be a lot of things, especially with WordPress. People get plugin heavy lots of times, and you can have a lot of plugins loading on your site, and it'll bring everything down, which will be hard to test in this sense. So in the template version, we aren't getting that overload that might happen once it goes live. But if you get the theme and load it up and then run this test and all of a sudden it slows way down, you know, plugins are loading, let's see.
Is there any way to test the plugins or
P3.
review them?
Yep, E3.
P3?
Yeah, profile plugin.
Written by GoDaddy. Yeah,
Profile.
E3 plugin, and then it'll bring it up in WordPress. There you go.
I actually haven't used
I
it before.
did a demo
That's cool.
last month or the month before.
2 months ago.
Awesome.
P3 profiler.
That's cool.
I'm just making this.
Also, even if you're not plugin heavy, but you have Gravity Forms and the MailChimp plugin together, they use the same Ajax call to do the date picker. That could slow it down, and that's only 2 plugins that are very lightweight, but they conflict because they're trying to overload on top of each other.
Also, remember, when you install this theme on a GoDaddy shared server, you're gonna see a significant drop. If you can run a virtual dedicated server for WordPress, that's pretty much the only way to go once you start working on their images, plugins.
For sure, yeah, your host is a huge part of the puzzle.
There was just, an interesting load time speak. There was a study recently, you only have 15 seconds
Before you lose them.
before you lose your. Pardon?
15 seconds, including load time to
You
delivering
have to
something
leave
that
it.
you
Load
want.
time to leave.
Yeah, right,
From beginning load time to leave.
How about like a cache plugin? Like
Yes, so
W3?
there are lots of those, W3 total cache. So this is getting a little outside the topic, but we're gonna go in there, so I think I have time, because I'm running out of stuff to talk about anyway, so let's go there. W3 total cache, it's a good one. We've talked about it in previous meetups, but the most awesome way of caching your website is by using one of these WordPress managed hosting services that are out there now. Pagely, WP Engine, it's one I use and love, it's really good. And then there's another one, Synthesis.
Even if you're not going to use a managed host, SiteGround, I've actually just been using SiteGround recently.
Yep.
And they've got some, well, first off, it's pretty aggressive caching, but it's pretty solid.
Cool.
You can try loading up VegasGeek.com and see how fast that is.
Okay, that's it. Should we do it on the site or? Sorry, that's not what it looks like. That was fast. Let's run the test. Here we go.
I'm gonna call it Jimmy John, because that was freaky fast.
Oh, that's fine. You were on.
Oh, whoops, that's still.
This is not good.
No, he's fine. He's gonna run on the text.
It'll select randomly Amsterdam, so you gotta make sure you just
Yeah.
select LA.
It's going to Texas, but I think it's got Dutch right now, so we'll try.
New York City.
There's Amsterdam. So under the settings, sometimes that happens. They have tests from Amsterdam, Netherlands, New York City, or Dallas. Which even from the Netherlands, it was still 2.43 seconds. So well done.
Wow.
We just moved to SiteGround. It's been pretty good.
Cool.
Better prices than WP Engine?
Yeah.
That's the problem with the
They
managed
had
hosting. It's
they had
lot
a
more
crazy
expensive.
deal 3 months ago. It was like 1 month for the whole year.
You can actually still get that. It's $4.99 for a year of hosting.
What?
On SiteGround?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Done.
What?
Hold on, I'll send you my affiliate.
Yeah, hold on.
Yeah.
Yeah, seriously.
Someone's that thing.
You'll get 10% of $5.
Sweet. 5 cents. Cool. The last point here that I had written down was user experience. So with user experience, Google takes it into account since the Penguin Panda updates. Basically, they want to be able to deliver any page of the website to the client as quickly as possible, or to the searcher as quickly as possible. So every page on your website should be 3 clicks away. So if you've got 1,000 blog posts, how do you get that blog post to be 3 clicks away? Well, you use categories, you use tags, they should be able to click 3 times and get to any page on the website. So make sure the theme is set up in such a way that it would afford something like that. So with this one, to go back to this one, the homepage doesn't necessarily, you can get to these posts quickly. I don't think it's showing the categories at all. So you wouldn't be able to click the category from here, but if you click on categories right there, so there's 2 clicks, and then they only had 2 there, so there's 3 clicks. That would be the 3rd page. Or actually, to go back, look at that. So if we go into any of these posts, this would be 1 click. 1 click. Now we have recent posts, there's a bunch, recent comments. There's all the tags, so there's 2 clicks, and then that would be 3 clicks. So hopefully you can get to pretty much any page in your site within 3 clicks. You don't want to have pagination 1,000,000 pages and it's not able to get to there. With pagination, that's another point. Pagination should be numbers instead of previous next. Previous next only provides, you have to click that a whole bunch of times to get to page 9, where numbers shows page 9, you click on page 9, go straight to it. So, one other piece. I don't know how I'm doing on time, but that's kind of all I had. Anybody have any questions? Good?
Do you want to go over the permalinks code?
So, yes, we can do that. So your permalinks should be structured. Did you have something specifically?
Yeah.
Go for it. What do you got?
Oh, it's just /% category,
Okay.
percent
We're
slash.
talking about just how to set them up.
Okay, percent post name, percent slash.
So there's lots of ways to set up the permalinks for the beginners, since this is a beginner one. Are the pages, are the URLs for each of the pages. So John's homepage is vegasgeek.com, then you click on one of the posts, and it's vegasgeek.com/client-no. It would change depending on which one you're using. Top 10 movies of 2013. So he's using a structure that goes a little something like this. What did I put in my site? Under settings, permalinks. He's using the post name setup, which is pretty common. Post name gets you your website / a hyphenated version of the page title, all lowercase, and WordPress takes care of that for you and have it set up that way. By default, and I don't know why they still have it by default, we should have asked Matt while he was here last time, it comes with the funky PID. Do you know why that is?
Because it doesn't automatically include a .htaccess file, and as soon as you click on one of those and hit save, it'll generate.
Okay.
We don't need Matt.
One of the ones that I like to use, as you saw over here, you erased it, but it's
People don't drive 3 hours for Mac.
yeah.
Well played, sir.
Let's see. Was it post name?
One word.
I typically like this permalink structure when you're using categories like you should. It provides a little bit better of a structure for Google to look at your URL and decide what the page is about, because you're adding a category into the
A little bit more advanced one, if you have a lot of blog posts, is you can put the date, month, stuff in there, and it will ignore that on standard
pages. Yeah, that's the thing. So, like John's is just showing the post name. When I add in this category, it only makes the change to the blog posts. It doesn't make the change to the regular pages on the site. So, yeah, pages, those are still going to follow the name / hyphenated title layout. This will only affect the posts, blog posts. Anything else? Oh, another thing that's you can easily add in to a theme afterward. How much time do we got? Okay. Last thing, you can easily add it into a theme, but it's nice if it's already there because then you don't have to, is breadcrumbs. So breadcrumbs are these little guys. Let's see if we can find one on this theme. Nope. Let's see. Sheesh. This thing's really fancy. Kind of probably too much for an SEO purpose, but nope, not there either.
It probably sucks to put together too.
Yeah. Right, yeah.
Yeah, I don't have it. But where's my Slacker?
Slacker. So I have mine turned here. So, breadcrumbs are these little guys. These are also another structural thing for telling Google how your site is laid out. It's a user experience. So you can tell that Learn More is a subpage of the homepage, and Las Vegas SEO is a subpage of the Learn More section of the site. So if a theme already comes with those, that's great. If it doesn't, there are plugins that add it in relatively easy, kind of, but you don't have to worry about that at all if the theme comes with it. So something to look for. Breadcrumbs.
Parent your pages in the back end.
What?
Parent your pages in the back end.
Yeah, structure your pages the right way. So like how this one's a subpage of Learn More, like you can see up there. That's done because back here in the edit page section of the site, over here on the right, you have the parent, and I picked the Learn More page. So structure your pages in a way that makes sense for Google and then or for the user, and then Google